Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. Today we're discussing the Patek Philippe 5270G-018 Perpetual Calendar Chronograph. You can see and you can purchase this 41mm white gold Perpetual Calendar Chronograph on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch with additional accessories included in the sale, high-resolution images for your desktop, and naturally complete pricing details for this 5270G-018. Now, there have already been 3 generations of this watch. The original from 2011 without the tachymeter, the 2013 to 2014 version, which featured the tachymeter and a quirky chin structure just below the date at 6 o'clock, and then this 2015 to present dial variation that blends the protuberance of the radial date with the scale of the minutes, seconds, and the tachymeter. This is considered by many to be the cleanest solution to a sports technical aesthetic in a watch that is full-sized but not outright oversized. And it does wear with a good wrist presence such that it sort of threads the needle between traditionally sized watches like the older 3970, the 36.5mm Perpetual Calendar Chrono, and truly large timepieces like the immense Grandmaster Chime. The watch wears well on my 16cm wrist. Now, it's 41mm across the round of the case, not inclusive of chronograph pushers or crown. It's reasonably slim considering the complexity contained within 12.6mm thick, but you can see just how generously sloped the case flank is, especially the conical bezel. The watch does wear thinner than it is, easily sliding underneath the dress cuff. It has an impressive span across the wrist, but these things are relative. 49.8mm is full-sized for a Patek Philippe, but would be considered pretty much the middle of the range for contemporary men's sports complications. The watch does have impressive heft to it, all in white gold. Large soldered-on lugs add both visual and physical mass to the watch. A substantial alligator leather strap with a monotone stitch, rectangular scales. You can see a very short folded side profile, easy pull-tab spring bars for changing the strap without having to resort to tools, also allows you to clean closely alongside the flank of the case, and a matching Patek Philippe fully finished high polish white gold buckle with a filigree style Calatrava cross for additional security when donning or removing at bedside. I also like the way, and I often comment on this, that a heavy clasp or bracelet can counterweight a heavy precious metal watch, so if you like to wear it loose, it doesn't have the same tendency to move around as if it were attached to a lightweight pin buckle. Now, the case features an immense amount of character. It's best considered to be a medley of strong, separate geometries. That is, it has a bit of a modular look because the lugs are stepped out so dramatically from the case band. Now, this is true to history for Patek Philippe, and you'll note that it's finished to the highest standard as the lugs are actually welded or soldered onto the center case, and then hand finishing is employed to remove evidence of the welded joint. So there's a tremendous amount of finish on the exterior of the case as well as the interior. The stepped lugs also give the watch a handsome vintage stance on the wrist, and the visual break between the case band and the lugs adds masculine hard edges. At the same time, the bezel and the mid-case section add a more sensuous feminine curvature. The watch is all in high polish and quite handsome. For the record, this is what's known as gray gold. It's 18 karat gold that is white like white gold, but it does not need to be plated. There's no nickel, there's no rhodium on top, and you will never wear through to a milky yellow substrate. So hooray for gray gold. Moving inboard, you can see that the dial is what Patek Philippe describes as opaline. That is to say, it is a muted metallic silver. It doesn't have the explosive grain of a sunburst, for example. It almost has a very fine pebbly structure when you look at it closely under a loupe, and you can see how in the light of my light box it glows rather than exploding. That's the difference between a sunburst grain and a metallic opaline. It also has a little bit of an off-white tinge, such that it's vaguely vanilla in coloration, tending toward eggshell even when you see it in person. It has far more warmth and charm than a cold antiseptic silver dial can be in most cases. Outboard, you can see the tachymeter scale, base 1000, used for gauging the speed of an object, such as a race car or a pylon racing aircraft, over a fixed distance. You can see that the watch features a handsomely balanced dial. Applied and faceted white gold indices for the hours, white gold foy-style hands or leaf-style hands for hours and minutes with a handsome blackened lancet-style counterweighted seconds hand for the chronograph function. You'll note that there are flanking indicators for day-night, which is used for avoiding the setting of the calendar during the danger zone, and the leap year phase. As you can see, phase 2 is set at the moment on this watch, a crescent-style moon phase with a radial date, and of course, this being the 3rd generation dial, you can see there is no, quote, chin, but it does feature a tachymeter and a small amount of overlap between registers. You see constant seconds at 9 o'clock, and the instantaneous jumping minutes register, if you want to just back up the video and watch that again, it jumps instantaneously as the chronograph seconds passes the index at 60. And there is an impressive rack and snail apparatus just beneath my thumb that's responsible for instantaneously jumping that minute indicator. Now, the timepiece features a subtle step to the apertures for the day and the month, and there's also a small step down from the plane of the dial to the plane of the disc for these apertures, less geometrically guided than perhaps a sort of inverted cone shape. The point being, Patek Philippe sweated the details to even make the cut apertures in the dial more elegant and progressive. Now, again, I mentioned that date jumper, or rather that instantaneous minute jumper. Watch the rack and snail apparatus as the seconds hand passes 60. And you'll see what I mean by instantaneous jump. There it is. All right, we've seen a little bit of the profile, we've seen a little bit of the dial. Now let's turn it over. As you can see, the vintage-inspired rectangular pushers. Also, note the difference, note the attention to detail. Polished on their flanks, on their underside with a satin grain. No detail overlooked here, same visible on the tops. Turn it over, and you're looking at the caliber 29-535 PSQ. This replaced the CH2770, which was actually a Lamagna base Bausch, heavily modified by Patek Philippe. This one is all Patek. As you can see, beautifully executed, the gleaming finish on every surface, richly textured Côte de Genève perfectly aligned across the bridges. As I move it through the light, you can see how many surfaces turn black, which reveals how many surfaces are black polished. The most difficult finishing art, along with interior angles of anglage. This is as tough as it gets from a finishing standpoint, and many haute de gamme manufacturers avoid black polish entirely because it is so time-consuming and expensive. Look how much Patek gives you. You can also see the gleam at the edge of the individual components of the chronograph train, as well as the edge of the bridges and cocks, showing the mirrored anglage, the hand-finished, perfectly rounded surfaces that are to a mirrored finish when viewed under a loupe. And you'll note the same for the cap of the column wheel. You can see the column wheel, a function selector for the lateral clutch mechanism, and note this lateral clutch fully jeweled. The driving wheel off the 4th wheel of the main train, the intermediate driving wheel, both have jewels, not bushings. That's the level of quality you're getting here. Now let's actuate the chronograph so you can see the levers and the horns of the chronograph interacting with the capped column wheel. The capped column wheel is one of the standards of Geneva watch finishing, though no longer Geneva hallmark. The standard of finishing is the same, if not higher, and the stylistic flourish of the capped column wheel is retained. It also has its roots in watchmaking logic, in as much as the capped column wheel prevents the horns of the levers from popping out vertically if the watch sustains a shock or a bump on the wrist. So there's a functional purpose to the cap as well. Now, of course, you can see the jeweled, not bushing-borne, intermediate driving wheel connecting and separating from the chronograph center wheel. That's the advantage of a lateral clutch over vertical. While less efficient, sure, we're talking about mechanical watches. They're all effectively obsolete. You may as well buy the most beautiful solution. The column wheel is crisp to actuate. It's an absolute pleasure to hear and to feel under the finger. Now, the balance is Gyromax style, so free sprung for resistance to vibration and shock-induced timing deviations. It also takes and holds a precise regulation. sensation more finely and more perfectly than a mobile stud index. Now, unlike the CH27, which beats away at 18,000 vibrations per hour, the new caliber is a 4 Hz or 28,800 vibration per hour beat rate. It still has the Gyromax free-sprung architecture, and in many of its premium timepieces, Patek Philippe continues to use a Ferris hairspring with a Breguet overcoil hairspring structure. The overcoil ensuring concentric beating or a centered mass of the hairspring such that it will not deviate as much in different positions with respect to gravity. That's the advantage of an overcoil hairspring structure. Other details worth mentioning, you'll note, I'll demonstrate a reset. You'll note that when I pull the crown, I do actually stop the seconds hand, and when you turn it over, I have stopped the balance. That is because the 29535 is a hacking caliber. This is still something fairly new and novel for Patek Philippe, but its in-house premium calibers are beginning to incorporate this feature. Now, the other important note is that unlike the CH27, which had a 48-hour power reserve, this one actually has a 65-hour power reserve, so you get plenty of duration and endurance from a wind. The watch's winding sensation can best be described as absolutely silken. The click detents are almost imperceptible. This is the smoothest winding watch I've ever experienced. The chronograph is crisp, but the winding sensation is almost as if borne on fluid. It is incredibly distinctive to the point that eyes closed, you know you're winding this caliber. Beautifully executed. The caliber itself features over 450 parts and 33 jewels, every single one of them visible on display thanks to the manual winding lateral clutch architecture that is beautiful to behold. 30 meters water resistant, so while it is a sports watch, it's not an aquatic sports watch. But isn't that why you're on the wait list for a 5711? Take this one home today on our website.